I'm Joe Wadlington, and this is Behind Trees. It's originally published in The Rumpus. When I was in middle school, all of my AOL away messages should have said something like, "Off playing The Sims, probably killing an effigy of you." The Sims was the digital dollhouse that I retreated to every time I needed to offload some rage or pick out some fabulous topiaries. At 13, this was a high volume of time for me. The Sims also became my first way to bond with the popular kids that ran my school and possibly the country. I used the Rosebud semicolon code to become a millionaire and then quickly built neon-colored porn palaces that any MTV Real World cast would be proud of. There, I used the game's full breadth of blonde wigs and tube dresses to make the popular girls in my school. And each morning, I told everyone who their Sim kissed or married, how their Sim got fired or wore really slutty clothing. And it worked. I clung to the people like feeder fish. I joined Beta Club and cross country just so I could follow them around for more hours. I chewed their gum. I laid down in puddles so that they could walk on my back. I would never be accepted into their royal family, but being their jester meant that I could avoid social serfdom. And somehow, I knew that little boys like me often had grimmer fates in the South. Their projected popularity could be my safety. It could be my smokescreen. So while one house was set aside for those kids to listen to hip-hop, eat chips, and try to get pregnant, the American teenage dream, I had another house with a more utilitarian function. Let me tell you how I killed my fake friends. 1. Electrocution. If you have a Sim with a low mechanical skill, try to fix a TV. While standing in a puddle, they could get electrocuted and die. It's a lot of setup, but it's worth the jolts. Drowning. You can put a Sim in a pool, delete the ladder, they will swim until they're exhausted and drown. Fire. I'm not sure if it's a glitch in the game or not, but you can put an area rug underneath a hearth. That way when someone lights a fire, everything touching the rug also goes up in flame. If you want to do like a natural selection type of thing, you can put the rugs into a labyrinth of fire, but it's pretty disappointing if they make it out alive. Starvation. You can put a Sim in a 1 square foot by 1 square foot room. Delete the door. After a few days, they'll have filled the room with their own puddles and they keep falling asleep in them. And if you add a parrot to the room, then they can't fall asleep, which doesn't make them die any faster, but really increases the amount of screaming, which felt important to me at the time. I loved these two houses for their distinct and important purposes. Having a porn palace and a temple of revenge covers most of the needs for 13-year-olds, but it still left one need unmet within me. I felt the overwhelming urge to buy plants, to progress a character through a career, and buy furniture in increasingly darker shades of wood. So I grabbed a lot in the back of the neighborhood and surrounded it with trees. Behind them, I began building the story I truly wanted to witness. I made 2 Sims, Nate and Joseph, and I got their storyline started before I could think about why I needed it. Together, they flourished. Nate made it all the way through fireman school, and Joseph really focused on his paintings. Their combined efforts meant that every day the house was improved. A stove to cook better food, more Persian rugs, and eventually those wavy cabinets with the wood straight from the rainforest. Each piece of furniture kept getting upgraded until I hit an impasse with their beds. You see, Nate and Joseph had the nicest single beds available. The only better ones in the game were king-sized. There wasn't room enough in their bedroom for 2 king-size beds, and I was not knocking down the original brick. So I got up from my chair and locked the computer room door, and I bought 1 king-size bed for Nate and Joseph to share. And that night, they slipped into it without a blink. And, I mean, you can't really tell what they're doing when they sleep, but it looked like Nate stretched out his arm and and Joseph rolled closer. And towards the end of cross-country season, we always had a party at someone's house. So my mother, the tireless host, offered our basement, and a few weeks later, the very people who were actively avoiding me were all in my house. Naturally, they wanted to see the Sims game that I'd been broadcasting about for a year, so we packed into the computer room, barely enough space for us and all the excitement. And at first I thought about the tombstones that glittered with their names at the Revenge Temple, so I skipped that one. We went straight to the Porn Palace, jumped into the house and the mouths of everyone who lived there. Everyone made their digital effigy, make out with someone else's digital effigy, and we were almost done until someone saw a smaller house in the back of the neighborhood behind the trees. And so I became glass, and they clicked into the house and went through the rooms like thieves and saw the perfect furniture and the matching wallpaper and the reading nook that I put in the kitchen. No one spoke. They saw Nate and Joseph making dinner together, and they found the bed. Weird, someone threw out into the silence. And then we heard the footsteps upstairs of polite arriving parents, and everyone shuffled out. And that night, when my parents finally fell asleep, I snuck back to the computer room and opened up the game. Nate and Joseph had just finished dinner and were reading together on a sofa beside the fireplace in their bedroom. I had Joseph light the fire. Nate looked up and then was gone. In under a minute, you couldn't tell which pile of gray cartoon ashes had been the king-size bed. Thank you.